Welcome, you're watching Primetime Debate. The Rajasthan government presented the Criminal Laws Rajasthan Amendment Bill 2017 in the Assembly today, which seeks to protect public servants, including retired judges and magistrates, from prosecution without its prior sanction. Another controversial clause in the bill is a 2-year imprisonment and fine for anyone who publicizes details of a complaint against a government servant, which is being looked at as a veritable gag on the media. This ordinance has now been challenged in the Rajasthan High Court, but would a bill like this stand up to the scrutiny of the law? To talk about the controversial immunity ordinance, as it's being called, I'm joined by KTS Tulsi, a senior advocate in the Supreme Court, Arima Sundaram, senior advocate in the Supreme Court as well, and Aditya Jain, advocate in Rajasthan High Court. We'll be speaking to him in a bit. He's the lawyer of the person who's filed a plea against the government's ordinance today. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Sundaram, I'll come to you first. Will this stand up to scrutiny? Because the Rajasthan government argues, and it has given a five-point defense on its website, that this is being done only to protect those officers who are honest from harassment.
Well, I don't want to answer your question directly as to whether it'll stand up to scrutiny, because the matter is sub judice right now in the Rajasthan High Court, so one can't predicate a result of the action. But let me just get one thing very clear here. What the ordinance really seeks to do is to ensure that there can be no investigation. We are not talking about prosecution. That there can be no investigation into any complaint against a public servant or a judge past or present or a magistrate without the sanction, and such sanction the government has time up to 6 months. Now please do understand the importance of this. What it really boils down to is that while it's sought to be passed off as of anything done by a public servant in the course of his duties, but that is absolute nonsense, because if he's doing something in the course of his duties which is legal and someone has a complaint about the way he's doing it, it is not a criminal matter at all. There's been an amendment to the Criminal Procedure Code, and that Criminal Procedure Code applies when there is a crime. Now, it cannot be said, I can't understand what crime can be committed in the course of his duties. Does it mean that if somebody comes to him for a job interview and he harasses a lady, that therefore it was in the course of his duties and therefore he can't be investigated? That's absolutely ridiculous. Actually, the effect of it by making the amendment in the CRPC is this, that an investigation into any crime committed by such a person cannot even be commenced, let alone concluded, without sanction. Which means that if a person gives a complaint, until the government decides in its own sweet time whether to give the sanction for the investigation, it cannot go on. Now, I always ask myself, is it not the aim to speed up investigation? Will the investigation not be nullified if it is delayed inordinately? So that is one element of it. The other is, I'm very sorry to say, is an actual muzzling of the media. This amounts really to something which, according to me, is against the very fundamental, basic fundamental right to freedom of speech, which in my view is the quintessence of democracy. And I believe that such muzzling of the media was done once before in this country, 50 years ago or 42 years ago, and I hope it will never happen again. And I'm very sad to say that this muzzling of the media cannot be permitted. Of course, you can say that it's alleged or it's being investigated. You cannot really impute guilt to the person. But it's ridiculous to say that anybody else, if some person is accused of something, it can come in the media, there's no problem at all. But if these people are accused, you cannot even say that a complaint was made which is now going to be investigated, or the government is considering what is to be done about it. And I feel that is very, very retrograde.
Let me get Mr. KTS Tulsi here, because you spoke with us a couple of days ago as well, Mr. Tulsi, on BloombergQuint.com, and you've been quoted as also arguing that to some extent it is justified because of the way media functions now. What is your overall view?
You see, when I see this ordinance now, having seen it, I feel that it's draconian. I feel that it can effectively suspend your right to life. What will happen if my brother is being held illegally in a police station? And I'm concerned, I'm worried that he's in illegal custody and he might be killed. I have no remedy. I go to the police station, the police will show me this ordinance and say that we can't register an FIR against a public servant. I go to the magistrate says, I'm sorry, I can't direct registration of the FIR in view of this ordinance. What do? Next day I go to the police station and my brother's killed. I can't lodge a report of murder because they will say that this is against a public servant. I go to the magistrate, he says this is against a public servant. I go to the media and media says, sorry, we have also been barred from reporting this murder in cold blood, in the police station, in police custody. It may be an offense, but we can't even publish this news. So we go back to the days of ADM Jabalpur, where your right to life might, if it is suspended, it means it can even be denied. 6 months and the FIR will not be registered. When the courts in the judicial process feel that even 1 hour's delay can be fatal, the police has to swing into action. This entire law, and this is not fair procedure that is contemplated under Article 21 of the Constitution. I think this is dangerous provision.
All right, Rajasthan government, as I mentioned, has put a broadly five-point defense on its website. And I went through those points. It's in a Hindi press release they put out. And just, to play devil's advocate, let's see what they're saying here and what their point of view is and does it stand up or not. So number one, they say that they're not the first ones to do this. The Maharashtra Assembly has passed a similar ordinance, so claims the Rajasthan government, on the 23rd of December 2015. Then they also go on to say that 73% of cases registered under section 156(3), that is where the magistrate can direct an FIR, have been found to be false cases between 2013 and 2017. So they're saying on an average 3/4 of the cases are false in any case. They also say that action will continue to be taken against those found corrupt, that they're in no way saying that if they, that is the government itself, find someone corrupt, that they will be protected. The action will be taken. The fourth point they make is where they talk about a tippani or a comment, an observation the Supreme Court has made on the importance of protecting honest officers on 17th November 2015. And they also go on to show that this state government is really serious about, stopping corruption or nipping it in the bud, because they've registered over 1,100 cases under the ACB or the Anti-Corruption Bureau in the last 3.5 years. So this is the broad defense. I want to come to it one by one, and maybe, Mr. Sundaram, we can pick up the one where they say that 73% of the cases registered under section 156(3), according to the Rajasthan government, are false in any case. They argue that these cases are used to sort of corner honest officers, defame them, and it's a nexus. You register a case, you have an FIR, then someone in the media covers it, dirt is thrown on that officer and they're not able to do their job. So I'm playing devil's advocate here. How do you protect these officers then?
Well, I'm glad you asked me about one, because I have very strong comments about all five, because I really don't think any of them merit any kind of serious viewing. Because let me tell you one thing. Let me start with exactly what you said. What is the purpose of an investigation? The purpose of an investigation is to determine whether the complaint made is something which should progress to the next stage of actually filing a charge sheet and actually filing a case. Now, that is the purpose of investigation. What is being said? That because many investigations find that the person who's being accused is not guilty, this is not only public servants. In many of the complaints given, many of the investigations find that there is no basis. Even many charge sheets which are filed and cases which are going on, more than 50% of people are often acquitted. What does that mean? That means it should not be investigated at all, because there is a chance that these persons have been wrongly implicated. If they've been wrongly implicated, law will take its course. It's very serious when you give a false complaint, especially against a public servant, and law will take its course. But the answer is not to say, well then, don't lodge a complaint at all. Don't even investigate into the matter. Turn a Nelson's eye to it. How can that ever be done? That's throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Mr. Tulsi, what is the idea behind including judges, magistrates, and even former judges and magistrates in the purview of this bill? Isn't there a separate process for members of the judiciary in any case? Could you throw some light on that aspect?
You see, 197 already gives that protection. 197 is already part of the criminal jurisprudence for the last 150 years. But now you said you bar even investigation. You have gone a step further, that even the door of criminal justice will not be opened for you. I accept that there are a large number of false cases that are filed. This is same with regard to murder cases, same with regard to rape cases. The conviction rate may be less than 25%. Just as the government pleads. Now, if it is less than 25%, are we going to remove murder as an offence from the penal code? If there are false cases of rape, are we going to remove rape as an offence from the penal code? What is the government doing? Because there are false cases, therefore you will block all investigations. That will be the end of the rule of law. They can merrily go on killing people in the police station. Nobody can make a complaint. What kind of a provision is this? This is worse than emergency.
This is...
I can't understand this being...
Exactly, which is why I'm going to ask you, and it's not strictly a legal question, but what could have possessed a state government to go ahead with this at a time like now? And just to put it into perspective, the Rajasthan government is also 3.5 years into its term. It's about 1.5 years away from elections. Why at this time, in your view, would a government come out with a set of rules like this or an ordinance like this? Of course,
the government has become a victim of its own propaganda.
They have a very comfortable majority.
Was that question for me?
Yes, no, Mr. Tulsi first. Mr. KTS Tulsi first.
I think the answer is very simple.
Yes, Mr. KTS Tulsi first, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Sundaram.
Yes, I feel that the government is becoming a victim of its own propaganda. And they don't realize that all this is going to have democratic backlash. You can't have these kind of draconian laws in a democracy, not under the Constitution of India, which says that the procedure established by law means procedure must be just and fair. Now, if the procedure is not fair, if you completely block investigation with regard to the offences which are being reported, the Supreme Court says you cannot refuse to register an FIR on the ground that this may be false. No, you have to register it. You have to investigate the truth or falsehood. If it's false, then proceed against the person who's lodged a false report. That is also an offence. Now, they have completely turned the law upside down.
Yes. Mr. Sundaram, your answer to that question, that what would possess a state government to do this at this point in its term?
Look, I think the answer is very simple to that. Who are being protected? The public servants. Now, bureaucracy may continue forever, but the fact of the matter is that the population, the voting public, the citizen, sees the conduct of the bureaucracy as the conduct of the ruling government of the day. Now, the moment anything comes out about a crime committed by a public official, in the public eye, it immediately reflects on the government of the day. Now, don't forget there's 6 months here. What happens if a scam is exposed 5 months before the elections? Somebody comes forward and says this was a bribe which was sought to be taken, there are ministers involved, this, that, the other. Well, you have to wait 6 months for sanction. Till then, there can be no investigation, there can be no reporting, and therefore the government of the day is protected by that. And that is exactly what democracy militates against. That is exactly what transparency militates against. And that is what I believe the Indian Constitution militates against.
Okay, we were hoping to speak to Aditya Jain, but we don't seem to be able to get through to him. But I was just looking at bits of his PIL, and I just want to take that to the two esteemed lawyers on our panel, where they also say, they talk about the object of Section 228A, which was to ensure that the victim of a crime who has undergone trauma or physical and mental torture is not put in a further uncomfortable situation. But in this case, it's being used to protect people who have an allegation against them. Just on that bit, Mr. Tulsi, because even as the Rajasthan government speaks about the Maharashtra precedent, this part is new, where you are saying you will punish someone who even reports an accusation with imprisonment up to 2 years.
That's right.
Where does that stand with the Constitution and the protection we have for freedom of speech?
It just can't wash. I feel that this is so grossly unfair, because what are you trying to do? Are you trying to prevent the report with regard to lynchings, where the crowds are being exhorted by elected representatives? And therefore you see what has happened is that when the crime is committed in public view, in the glare of public view, it gets recorded nowadays. There are hundreds of people who will record it with camera, and they have no defense. Now the media reports it, and they don't know where to look. All these lynchings, they are going to continue, and they want to gag, shoot the informer.
Well, in today's day,
I don't understand the wisdom of all this.
Okay, in fact, in today's day and age, it's a very interesting conversation.
Shoot the messenger.
It's a very interesting conversation in the context that the media or those reporting or expressing their views about any allegations or videos or what they see is no longer limited to journalists. Social media has really opened up those barriers for everyone. And really, when you're talking about gagging freedom of speech, it's gone way beyond newsrooms. That would be a tough one to attempt in any case. Whether it's constitutional or not is something up for debate. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on this debate, KTS Tulsi and Aryaman Sundaram. That concludes the first part of Primetime Debate. We'll take a very short break. Next up, we're talking about Gujarat. Well, in the last 48 hours, two Patidar leaders have quit the BJP after joining them. One of them claiming he was offered a 1 crore rupee bribe. He's brandished some cash as well. OBC leader Alpesh Thakore has joined the Congress party, and Hardik Patel, leader of the Patidar agitation, has reportedly met Rahul Gandhi. Outside of that, the Congress Vice President's Gabbar Singh tax twist on GST is getting some traction on social media. So is it advantage Congress in the upcoming Gujarat elections, or is the BJP still firmly positioned in what is Prime Minister Modi's home state? To discuss that now, I'm joined by Yashwant Deshmukh, who's MD and Chief Editor of C Voter Broadcast. Thank you so much, Mr. Deshmukh, for joining us. So, a very interesting turn of events in the last 24 to 48 hours in Gujarat. Of course, it's become a heated battleground. But just to first review what we've seen over this day and yesterday, Alpesh Thakore joining the Congress party, accepting their offer of a ticket, representing some OBC groups. How significant is that in terms of number of voters that Congress now has on its side?
Well, it is and it is not. I mean, whatever has happened in Gujarat in the last 24, 48 hours and things that have been happening so far, we have to, I would like to make 2 points. Number one, I I would say that it would be naive to presume that few leaders coming or going away from the BJP or joining the Congress is going to turn the table outright, and things will take a U-turn within 24 hours. Things don't happen that way in Gujarat. Number one. At the same time, those in the BJP rank and file, those who think that they don't really matter and this is not going to work just like that, they might also be in for a root shock, not because of these leaders going or coming, but also because of the fact that it's been 2 decades long anti-incumbency that has been building up. BJP has been holding on to that state not just because of the RSS and the BJP cadre that is extremely well-oiled machinery in Gujarat, not just because of the communal polarization that followed 2002, but primarily because of the image and leadership of Modi, who was the chief ministerial candidate so far. This time,
Mr.
he
Deshmukh,
is prime minister, but he is not the chief minister candidate.
Sure. But Mr. Deshmukh, since you look at the numbers so carefully, Patidars by themselves, you have OBC now. Where does it fit in with the math as far as the Congress is concerned? Because even the last few polls which have taken place show that the BJP is very comfortable. Is the Congress looking at even making a dent right now with Alpesh Thakore on its side in the meeting with Hardik Patel? How does it translate into numbers of vote percentages?
No, I doubt big time because the areas where Congress is trying to make a huge dent, as they claim, are not really the areas that BJP is very much. I would say that that they have lost that area big time to Congress. Reason being, we are forgetting that in the last assembly election, it is not the first time that Patidars have been asked to move away from the BJP. If you remember very clearly, even Keshubhai Patel for the last 10 odd years has been trying to woo away the Patidars from the BJP. In the last election, he made his own party add up around 4% vote. Still that managed to, no way dent the BJP, as we have seen. And then what happens that Keshubhai Patel has gone back to the BJP, dissolved his party inside the BJP. His son has joined the BJP. So what I'm trying to say, Patidars going away or Patel movement going away has been a big deal right now, but it is not the first time BJP is facing the Patel crisis. BJP's vote bank has been weaved way beyond just 1 or 2 vote blocks, and in the last particularly 3 years, we have seen big time how they have moved in other states also, particularly talking about the Dalit votes and other sentiments. I'm not saying that this should not give a headway to Congress. This would not give a good swing to Congress. What I am trying to say, yes, it is going to give some good traction to Congress. The way the Congress has been contesting in the last almost about 2 decades in the Congress has been extremely lethargic and a gone case. But this time around, all these things would certainly make their people, their cadre, their leaders kind of motivated. But beyond this, what is going to actually motivate them is the fact that they are not facing Modi as the chief minister at the moment. So that is what is more important than all these leaders going and coming back.
That's an
yes,
important,
BJP is going to face a tough time
That's
in
an
Southern
important
Gujarat.
point, because the Congress is not telling people who their chief ministerial candidate is at all. And their campaign now is being marked.
More important,
and their campaign is actually
more
marked.
important to me the fact that how they deal with the question of Patidar and Ahmad Patidar reservation. Are they going to say in their manifesto very clearly and openly, yes, we are going to give reservation if we come to power? If they say yes, then what happens to the rest of the OBCs and rest of the people who will be getting affected by that reservation? If not, then will the Patidars call the bluff and say that, hey, you know what? You want our vote, but you are not even committing in your manifesto. Forget about doing it after you come to the power. So
Okay.
it's a catch-22. A lot will depend how Congress actually, what actually Congress promises, what it brings on the table, not just mere thinks, okay, we have a goodwill with you, but in real terms, whether or not they are going to promise that reservation in their manifesto, that is going to be a killing deal.
Okay, I want to talk a bit about Rahul Gandhi because this entire campaign, the social media buzz, as well as the media coverage over the Gujarat fight has also centered quite a bit on Rahul Gandhi's speeches, whether more people are attending his rallies. He's coming up with catchphrases like today was Gabbar Singh tax, and that gains traction on social media. But is there really a change on the ground, or what does it say about Rahul Gandhi perhaps preparing for a bigger fight in 2019?
Well, it's good to see him in action. At least there is something that is going on in that Congress rank and file, and good to see that he is trying to fight the stuff right, taking the lead right in the front. So that's how it should be. It should have been, and I would really love to see him campaign more and making the contest even more intense. But what really matters on the ground, beyond the party leader making noises and making the campaign, is the cadre, is the party infrastructure on the ground. The critical issue in front of Congress, not just in Gujarat, but right now, I believe in rest of the India and also the poll-bound states, including Himachal, including Karnataka, which would be going into the poll in coming days, coming months, is that how to rejuvenate party from the grassroots and up. And that is going to be a critical thing, because we know for sure that, even after facing all kind of anti-incumbency and everything, even after Lewa Patel going the other way, even after so many internal rebellions, ranging from Shankar Singh Waghela to Keshubhai Patel, even after that much, if the RSS machinery works on the ground and has been ensuring that last 20 years they deliver on the ground on the polling day, that means something. When we talk about all these leaders coming and going, the litmus test is simply to ask yourself, whomsoever leaders we are looking joining the Congress or joining the BJP or leaving the Congress and leaving the BJP, are these leaders bigger names than Shankar Singh Waghela? Are these leaders bigger name than Keshubhai Patel?
Yeah.
You answer this question.
Okay.
And that is your litmus test.
Let's ask another question. Let's ask another question, which seems to have become a big factor, and one really doesn't know how big a factor, which is why everyone's looking in Gujarat so carefully. 2 words: demonetization and GST. The fact is that the opposition has been hammering on these two themes. Are people going to vote on these two issues? And if they do, will it transcend the caste equations and the leaders, and which leader has how much support? How much traction have these two issues gained in your view?
That's a very valid and brilliant question. That's a very valid question, because I genuinely believe if demonetization and GST have to become an electoral issue, then across India, if there is one state which would be, really thinking about them as an electoral issue right now in a negative way against the BJP, it should be Gujarat. Because we know for sure that Gujarat is basically an entrepreneurial state, it's basically a trading state, it's basically a state of business. And these two issues have directly affected small and large businesses across India. So forget patidar, forget people coming and going. If the BJP should be having a lot of headache right now, it should be more because of these two issues hurting their prospects. We don't know how people are going to react in Gujarat.
Which is why
very different state. It is
yes, exactly. Which is why everyone's looking at Gujarat so carefully.
The general voter on the ground thinks like a business person. It's the only state in India where the
I'm kind of losing you. I'm kind of losing you on that connection right now,
so
Yashwant.
BJP should be scared about these two.
Okay, so that's why BJP should be scared about demonetization and GST. That is why everyone's so interested in seeing what happens in Gujarat, how much these issues actually resonate on the ground in a state which is the home state, the stronghold of the BJP and the Prime Minister. Of course, that's why it's a big wait and watch. Social media trends will come and go, but it's the voter who will ultimately decide. Thanks so much, Yashwant Deshmukh, for speaking with us. And that's all the time we have this evening on Primetime Debate. Stay tuned to Bloomberg.